When I lost everything, I thought the world had ended. My career, my relationships, my dreams, even the sense of who I was, everything slipped through my fingers like sand, impossible to hold, impossible to reclaim. I remember sitting on the cold floor of my empty apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling, asking the universe silently, why me? Every sound seemed hollow, every shadow, a reminder of what I had lost. And then he came. The monk I had met years ago, the one whose words I had brushed aside, thinking I had time to learn his lessons. He looked at me, not with pity, not with judgment, but with the calm certainty of someone who had seen the storm inside countless souls. And he said just one thing, one sentence that would shift the axis of my entire existence. You have not lost everything. You have only lost what you thought you needed. At first, I thought it was some kind of philosophical trick, a mental escape from the pain. But then I realized he wasn't giving me an answer. He was giving me a key to look beyond the wreckage of my life and see what lay beneath. I want you to understand this, because so often we are trapped in the illusion of loss. We believe that losing money, status, love, or comfort equates to losing life itself. But the truth is, the things we cling to are often the chains that bind us to suffering. The monk's words made me see that the floor of my life, though bare, was the most fertile soil I had ever known. When I think back, I remember the first night I truly understood him. The city outside my window was alive with lights, cars, and noise, but inside there was silence. I sat cross-legged, my hands trembling, my mind refusing to be still. And yet, in that emptiness, I felt something unexpected, a sense of release. The monk had not taken anything from me, yet I felt lighter. And it hit me, all the anxiety, the fear, the endless striving, it was not the world that had taken from me, it was me. I had given my power away piece by piece to every expectation, every judgment, every imagined failure. And in losing what I thought I needed, I was finally free to find what truly mattered. He said, "Look at your life as a river." I frowned at him, unsure if he meant metaphorically or literally. "A river?" I asked. "Yes," he said, his voice calm but penetrating. "A river does not cling to the rocks it passes. It does not demand that the banks conform to its shape. It flows not because it has a destination, but because it is alive. You are a river, not a pond frozen in fear. Your losses are rocks in your path, not walls blocking your way. Flow around them, over them, beneath them. Flow, and you will find that life carries you even when you think you are empty." I wanted to argue, to fight against the simplicity of his words, but deep inside I felt a resonance, like a bell quietly ringing after centuries of silence. The next day, I walked through the streets, noticing everything I had ignored before. The sunlight through the cracks of an alleyway, the laughter of children playing in puddles, the smell of bread from a small bakery. I realized I had been living in pursuit of the wrong treasures measured in numbers, titles, and approval. The monk had forced me to see that real wealth is invisible, like air or time or love. It cannot be stolen, it cannot be lost, it cannot be measured. And as I walked, I asked myself, what have I truly lost, and what have I never had to begin with? The answer was quiet but powerful. I had lost illusions, and I had gained clarity. He often spoke in paradoxes. One evening he said, "When you think you have nothing, you possess everything." I remember thinking that sounded like nonsense, a cruel joke for someone who had lost everything. But as days passed, I began to understand. In losing the familiar, I had opened a space for possibility. When nothing presses upon you, your mind stretches in ways it never could before. When nothing owns you, you are free to create, to love, to act without hesitation. The monk didn't just teach resilience. He taught liberation. I started to see life differently. I noticed that every failure I had endured, every rejection, every heartbreak was not an ending but a teacher. Each loss was a mirror reflecting my illusions, my attachments, my fears. And in the reflection, I began to recognize the person I had been hiding from, the self that was capable, whole, and unshakable. It was a slow process, like a sculptor chipping away stone to reveal the form within. I had spent so many years polishing the exterior, chasing shadows and fearing emptiness, that I had forgotten the power of simplicity, of presence, of being. One day I asked the monk, "But why does life take so much from us?" He looked at me with eyes that seemed to hold the calm of centuries and said, "Because life is not here to give or take. Life is here to reveal." That hit me like a lightning bolt. I had been seeing life as a ledger, keeping track of gains and losses, victories and defeats, and in doing so, I had missed the truth. Life is a teacher, and every loss is a lesson. The pain is not punishment, it is an invitation to awaken. I want you to feel the weight of this. When everything falls away, you are not diminished. You are revealed. Stripped of pretense, of distraction, of ego, you discover the core of your being. And in that discovery, there is power. Not the power of money or influence or fame, but the quiet, unshakable power of knowing who you are. The monk showed me that true strength is not built on possessions, but on presence. True courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward despite it. True freedom is not having everything, but needing nothing. There were moments of doubt, of course. Nights when the emptiness seemed unbearable, when despair whispered that I had lost too much, that I was too broken, that hope was a lie. But the monk's words echoed in my mind, "You have not lost everything. You have only lost what you thought you needed." And I realized that the very things I mourned had been distractions, chains wrapped so tightly around my heart that I could not breathe. Losing them was not a curse, it was liberation. I started to take small steps. I created routines that grounded me, meditating at dawn, walking without destination, listening more than I spoke. I learned to embrace silence, to listen to the subtle rhythms of life, to watch my thoughts like clouds passing across the sky. Each day became a teacher, each moment a canvas. And slowly I began to rebuild, not what I had lost, but something deeper, something uncheckable. My resilience was no longer dependent on external validation. It was an inner flame, small but bright, that no storm could extinguish. One of the most profound lessons the monk taught me was about gratitude. Not the shallow kind of gratitude we often post online, but the deep, almost sacred kind that sees life itself as a gift. He said, if you can walk through your day with eyes open, if you can breathe and feel, if you can witness the miracle of existence, you are already wealthy beyond measure. At first I thought, but I have lost everything, how can I feel grateful? But then I realized the very fact that I could feel, that I could suffer and learn, that I could still hope, that was everything. Everything I had lost paled in comparison to the life still coursing through my veins. There's another paradox I discovered. The more you surrender, the more you gain. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means releasing the illusion of control. We cling to plans, outcomes, identities, and possessions, believing they define us. But life is not a thing to possess, it is a river to flow with, unpredictable and beautiful. When I surrendered my attachment to loss, I found freedom. When I stopped measuring life in wins and losses, I began to measure it in moments, in presence, in depth. And that is a richness no one can take from you. I want you to ask yourself, what have you truly lost? And what have you been clinging to that was never yours to begin with? What illusions weigh on your heart? And if you could release them, if you could see life with clarity and courage, what might you discover about yourself? The monk forced me to confront these questions and they changed me. Perhaps they will change you too. By the time I truly understood the monk's teaching, I realized something incredible. I had not just survived loss, I had been reborn by it. My perspective shifted from scarcity to abundance, from fear to curiosity, from despair to wonder. The empty apartment that had once felt like a tomb became a sanctuary. The silence that had once been oppressive became a teacher. I learned that life's greatest gifts are often disguised as pain, loss, or emptiness. And I learned to see the invisible thread that connects every moment, every being, every breath, the thread of existence itself, unbroken and eternal. I want you to imagine this, standing in a forest after a storm, the ground muddy, the branches bare, the sky gray, and yet, amidst the devastation, tiny green shoots push through the earth. That is life. That is you. Loss is the storm, pain is the mud, and yet, beneath it all, life finds a way. You find a way. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure is an opportunity to grow, to rise, to flow like the river the monk spoke of. And one day, when you look back, you will see that the very things you thought destroyed you were the tools that built your strength, your clarity, your freedom. I want to leave you with this final thought. The monk never gave me a formula for success nor a guarantee for happiness. What he gave me was infinitely more valuable. He gave me perspective. And perspective is the lens through which we see all of life. Through it, Loss becomes lesson, fear becomes courage, emptiness becomes space for creation. Through it, you discover that you have not lost everything. You have only lost what was never meant to define you. And in that loss, you gain the essence of life itself: presence, awareness, love, and freedom. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to breathe, reflect, and ask yourself, what illusions can I release today? What attachments can I surrender so that I may truly see, feel, and live? Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video if it moved you, and subscribe to Echoes of Greatness for more stories that challenge, inspire, and awaken the best within you. Remember, the storm is never the end, it is the beginning of your transformation.